situation was like that when Yarovoi held a meeting with us, having invited us to the Dvigatel plant. They made repeated calls to him from Moscow and insisted he set up a committee of liberation. I said no, and there were hard feelings. We stopped greeting each other. I comprehended what was going on. Blood was spilled in Latvia and Lithuania. Opponents of secession were smeared. They are still being repressed as we speak. This didn't happen here.
Я знаю, что до сих пор репрессируют этих людей. У нас такого не произошло.
In Vilnius, the Special OMON police force killed civilians at the television transmission tower. On the same day, Russia's President Yeltsin came to Tallinn and signed some agreements of cooperation with representatives of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and condemned the use of force. Yeltsin acknowledged the sovereignty of the Baltic countries, even though the disintegration of the USSR was not something he wanted. Moscow decided to arrange a referendum throughout the Soviet Union concerning the need to maintain the USSR. As a counter-move, the Baltic countries held a preemptive plebiscite. Nearly 80% of the residents of Estonia voted for independence. When news arrived of the putsch in Moscow, it was certain that tanks would also arrive in Tallinn. There was but one question: for how long, and what would they do here? Would it be possible to turn back the wheel of history with their help? It was good that despite the complexity of the situation, Estonia's political groupings, which differed a lot, found one another, and that a joint solution was found. It could easily have happened that the Supreme Soviet would have declared the restoration of the Republic of Estonia and declared itself the sole legitimate power in the country, shouldering aside the Congress of Estonia. That would have involved a different turn of events, and I believe those political tensions would have been reflected in society. Honorable members of the Supreme Council, who is in favor of adopting the decision of the Supreme Council of the Republic of Estonia concerning national independence? I am putting it to a vote. 53 votes. "69 deputies are in favor of the decision, none against, and no abstentions. The decision is passed." The Executive Committee of the Congress of Estonia participated in the drafting of the Supreme Council's decision. The Supreme Council didn't proclaim the creation of a new republic, nor did it proclaim the secession of a Union Republic from the Soviet Union. Estonia restored her independence de facto, which had never been interrupted in the legal sense. On August 21st, Soviet shock troops seized the bottom floors of the Tallinn television tower. Television programming ceased, but radio transmissions continued. The people were kept informed of what was taking place. The August putsch in Moscow left no choice. The restoration of the independence of the Republic had to be declared. By the 21st, it was apparent that the putsch attempt had failed in Moscow. In Tallinn, no one knew if it would be possible to avoid bloodshed. It was not until the departure of the shock troops that it became possible to exercise all of the functions of a state. Control was taken of union-level agencies, state property, and the border. Estonia re-established her independence a mere 3 days before the 52nd anniversary of the fateful Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. The armored vehicles departed the area at the foot of the television tower before the sun had set, and during the same night they left Tallinn. The leadership of the Communist Party of Estonia didn't bring independence to Estonia. They were too busy trying to maintain their leading positions. Even the Estonian people, who had been united by the Singing Revolution, had not been able to attain independence through their own devices. The Baltic countries were saved by historical happenstance. The weakened Soviet Union simply didn't have the courage to continue to drown in blood the unceasing yearning for freedom of the peoples of Eastern Europe. The Western countries, particularly the United States and her NATO partners, applied pressure in defense of the Baltic nations. The countries of the world were quick to recognize the independence that Estonia had reinstituted on August 21, 1991, and Russia, the successor state of the Soviet Union, withdrew the last occupation forces in August of 1994, after 54 years of presence here. Deep wounds lingered after the occupation, particularly in the hearts and minds of the people, but the Estonian people are up to the task of ministering to those injuries.